All right, it is 6:30 and time for the Tipton Community School Board of Trustees October meeting. I've asked Mrs. Sloan to lead us in the pledge, and if you would join us, please stand.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Next item is comments from the community, and I don't believe we had anybody sign up to speak at tonight's meeting, so we'll move along. The first thing, we will now recess the public meeting and convene a ratification meeting. Do I have a motion to recess our meeting and convene the ratification meeting?
I move to recess our meeting and convene the ratification meeting.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. On September the 19th, 2022, Tipton Community School Corporation and the Tipton Education Association convened a joint public hearing to announce the beginning of formal bargaining. On September 27th, 2022, a public meeting was held to announce a tentative agreement to provide the details on the new contract with stakeholders in the community. Do we have any public comment regarding the ratification of that 2021-2022 and the 2022-2023 collective bargaining agreement? Anyone? All right. Do I have a motion to ratify the 2022, 21-22, 22-23 collective bargaining agreement between Tipton Community School Corporation and TEA?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Next, do I have a motion to adjourn the ratification meeting and reopen our regular monthly meeting?
I move to adjourn this ratification meeting and reopen our regular monthly meeting.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you very much. Next is consent agenda items, and in the consent agenda items are approval of tonight's agenda, approval of minutes from work session September 13th, 2022, regular meeting September 13th, 2022, public hearing of September 19th, 2022, public hearing of September 27th, 2022, approval of claims, payroll September 26th, 2022, payroll September 30th, 2022, and accounts payable claims for October the 11th, 2022. The personnel report, and I will read that once we are past this. And then we have approval of field trips, overnight and out of state. We have Tipton High School Spanish students to Mexico in June of 2023. Tipton High School Young Originals in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, April 5th through the 8th, 2023. And I would need a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Gary, I would like to postpone or to move the approval of the THS Spanish students to Mexico to next meeting, since Mr. Henderson is here to give us a presentation about that information. So
Okay.
I would like to make a motion to move that agenda item to November so that we can receive all the information prior to making a decision.
Okay, very good. All right, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items with that one change. I need a second as well. A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. The October the 11th personnel report is certified staff resignation of Derek Simmons, special education teacher at Tipton Elementary School. Maternity leave request for Michelle Reynolds, preschool teacher at Tipton Elementary School. Classified staff recommendation of Pam Hoolan, cafeteria, Tipton Elementary and Middle School. Jessica Lee, cafeteria, Tipton Elementary and Middle School. Lexi Geiger, Title I paraeducator at the elementary school, Jane Harper, study table bus driver. Matt Gall, study table bus driver. Becky Schulenberg, study table bus driver. And Austin Louthen, cafeteria at the elementary and the middle school. ECA staff, resignation. Jason Bales, 8th grade boys basketball coach at the middle school. Janet Whitlock, grade level chairperson at the elementary school. Recommendation of Alec Weddle, 8th grade boys basketball coach at the middle school. Carrie Capshaw, 7th grade boys basketball coach at the middle school. Sam Phillips, 6th grade boys basketball coach at the middle school. Alicia Glassburn, junior class sponsor at the high school. And Jeremy Nunemaker, varsity wrestling head coach at the high school. All right. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent report. So Dr. Glaze.
Thank you, Gary. I'm going to do a fairly short report tonight, just essentially talking a little bit about some work that we're doing a little bit behind the scenes. As you may or may not be aware, we did have a presentation about the Latin honor system for high school students, and just kind of inform the community that is something that a subcommittee of the board and some teachers and administrators are continuing to look at. And we're trying to make some decisions on whether to move forward with that idea. And so once again, we may be contacting some additional parents for some feedback and trying to get a kind of a general consensus, because it is a big change, and we just want to make sure we make good decisions and we're well informed. We're informing our community well before any decisions are made. So that's really the goal with that. So we'll kind of keep you informed about the progress with Latin honors, and we'll just continue to have some updates each month to kind of see where we are, and so we're communicating successfully. Soccer sectional champions with our girls. It was a 4-peat. That's pretty darn awesome. And so congratulations to them. We also want to congratulate our cross-country regional qualifiers. So in general, another great year in the land of Tipton athletics, and we're thrilled to have another great year. Hoping to have another, so a few more wins here with football and volleyball, and then we'll kind of see what happens. So that's really it for me on the superintendent's report, and we'll move on to Spotlight on Schools, because we do have some presentations tonight. So we're going to start out with Mr. Jason Bales. Do you want me to put the website up?
If you'd like, that's fine.
Okay.
All right. First of all, good evening, and thank you for having me. I'm very, very excited, looking forward to actually getting in front of you and actually talk about this trip. So we started working on this back in March, and really just kind of expedited a process, and we're also beginning the process of starting to think about next year as well. But in your emails, I've sent you a copy of all the things that we've got planned for our Washington, D.C. trip. Currently, we have 74 students signed up to go, which is incredible. I need to tell this story really quickly. I got the opportunity to go out to Washington, D.C. The company that we're working with is called World Strides. They flew me out and kind of gave me a spectacle of what it kind of looks like to be a part of that trip. And there was educators from all over the United States, which was really cool. Some bring in 10, 15, and I get up there and I tell them I'm bringing 74, and they're like, what did you do? So, and that's not even counting the 31 additional adults that are going. And right now we're looking at 9 or 10 staff chaperones. So we got a pretty good group, 3 tour buses. Currently our itinerary includes, and this is still in the works because, with COVID, it's still a little bit out there, but you got to worry about tickets and number of people still. But still looking at Lincoln Memorial, Jefferson Memorial, Martin Luther King, Vietnam. The Korean War Memorial is brand new. It's really kind of an awesome thing. Additionally, World War II, FDR. We're looking to go to Arlington National Cemetery. I've put in a request to lay a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier for our students, which hopefully that pans out. It's very, very exciting. I've contacted a couple of our senators looking to get a tour of the Capitol building with them. So very, very excited about that as well. Additionally, we're looking to also visit National Archives, Holocaust Museum, the Museum of Natural and American History, as well as the Pentagon Memorial, the White House, and all the things that kind of go with Washington, D.C. So again, we're hoping that we'll have a finalized itinerary by January when it's all kind of put together. I can tell you this is a lot of work, but it's really, really exciting to see our eighth graders really they're looking forward to something. I know I feel like a lot of things have been taken from them over the past few years. So to have that excitement back in the building, you can just see a little bit of a different energy. So not only with them, but also with our community and parents. So I mean, 31 adults who want to go as well. They've been cooped up as well, it sounds like. So, but I've provided a website, all the pricing and everything that it's cost. We've also had a number of people in our community that's kind of helped to provide some scholarships that we can use towards, funding some of the things that we're going to do. And it's just a really, really exciting time to be doing that. So I certainly wanted to present that information to you, so you kind of knew exactly what's going on. And personally, I'd like to make this a yearly thing for our kids. Just seeing, history come to life for them has been pretty awesome. So, thank you.
Can you remind us of the dates of that, Jason?
Oh yeah, that's probably important. April 5th, we'll leave right after school about 5 o'clock, and we'll be gone through April 9th. We'll return Sunday morning. So, yep.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Jason. Next up, we have Mr. Henriksen and the Mexico trip. I'll load your PowerPoint. Thinking about it. All right.
Thank you all for giving me some time tonight to talk about the proposed trip. We're looking at June of this coming year. And at this point in time, we don't have a date nailed down yet because we're kind of waiting to see when all the athletics look like they would be done. In talking with the travel agent, being able to discern a date based on pricing as well too. So that's kind of where we are at that point in time. I was hoping to very soon do some recruiting though, to be able to also know where we stand where that's concerned as well too. So again, I'll need your go ahead or whatever we would need to do to be able to do that as well too. So, okay. But again, I do appreciate being able to talk to you all about this. The last time we traveled to Mexico was 2019. So again, that was the summer before the pandemic. And so we've basically had to put these ideas on hold for a while. And I think we're back to the point now where we have a lot of student interest. I've had a lot of parents ask me about it as well too. So I think we're at this point where, providing the correct precautions are taken, I think we'll be good then. Basically, I'm looking at probably a 9, maybe a 10-day trip, again, depending on what our airline pricing is going to be. And the airline pricing is probably going to be the big determinant. Looking at roughly $2,000. It could be less, it could be slightly more. Again, the airline is going to be what will actually determine this for us. Hotels and what have you, I think we're probably going to be pretty static on the pricing up until that point. So again, just waiting on knowing a little bit about the airline pricing. And again, as you can see on the slides, I've got day 1 with a question mark because I'm not really exactly sure what day that would be. Our travel agent, by the way, the travel agent, he is Dennis Wallace from Carmel Travel, and he is the grandfather of Max
Max and Henry Wallace, students at Tiffin High School. So he's been so far very good to work with and has given me quite a bit of information. But nonetheless, probably it would be a Saturday to Sunday. That looks like, at least in my research, where the best airline prices are going to be. But we would fly into Merida, Yucatan. It's a city that I have a whole lot of experience with. I studied there. My first experience in Merida was in 1972, and I've been there several times since that point. We have dear friends there that are like family. The family I lived with when I was in college is still there, and we visit them frequently. So they are my contact in Merida. But we would spend a few days there. Day one, we would be in the city itself, getting used to things. My plan is to stay in one of the really old, gracious hotels downtown in the historic district. We're talking about a city that is basically a 16th century city. So the city itself has the oldest cathedral in the Americas. I believe it was built around 1540. So we're, again, talking about a city with a lot of history. I've got a lot of students that are really looking forward to hopefully seeing Merida. That's where we went last time that we took the trip in 2019. Lots of restaurants, lots of things in the downtown section of the city. So a lot of things for us to do, and again, a great central location so that really we would not have to depend on a great deal of ground transportation. It's all within walking distance for the most part. Now, one of the things, of course, we want to do, and the temple that you see there, the Mayan temple, is probably quite familiar to you, the idea of visiting Chichen Itza. We would do that. That's been a favorite of the trips that we've taken thus far. We would also visit the historic city of Izamal, which is referred to as the Yellow City, and give us a lot of opportunities for good Yucatecan food as well. Okay. And day three would be spent downtown. Lots to see downtown, the cathedral, the Montejo House, the Mercado, the marketplace. It would be really a great day of walking and experiencing this really vibrant city. And that evening, we would have dinner, strictly Mayan, or not Mayan, but Yucatecan food at the Chaya Maya, which is in an old mansion downtown, as a lot of the restaurants are, but this one is an especially good restaurant that I want the kids to experience. Downtown at night, lots and lots of things to do, and again, it's just really a very lively city. Lots of performances, lots of music, lots of things that the kids, I think, would really enjoy. Another thing that we would do is go to the city of Progreso, which is on the coast, and it is about a half an hour north of Merida. And so spending the morning there, going back to a high school that we have a lot of contact with. It's CELA is what it's called, Centro de Estudios Latinoamericanos is what it actually stands for. Our exchange daughter, who was a student at Tiffin High School in 2005, 2006, is an English teacher there. And so we always like to visit the school, and they've always been very gracious to us as well, too. And I think the kids like the opportunity to see the difference between an American high school and a school in Merida. We would also do a Turibus tour of the city afterwards and spend the evening in the city. Then head to Mexico City. And Mexico City is also a place I've got a lot of experience in. It is just one of those places that I think the kids have to see to experience it. It really is quite a city. My thought is to spend our time mainly in the historic district of Mexico City. The hotel that I believe we want to use is called the Hotel Marlowe, and it's right downtown in the heart of the historic district. So again, virtually everything that we would want to do is within walking distance, with the exception of one or two different trips that we would take. Nice hotel, comfortable hotel. Good friends of mine stay there when they go to Mexico City, so they recommend it highly, and it's I like it would accommodate us very well. Doing some shopping, local shopping, and again, that shopping at the mercados, it's all within walking distance, and I think this would be things that the kids would love. Well, area, some wonderful restaurants in the district that we'd be in, one of which is the original Sanborns. And it's in the Casa de los Azuelos, the building up in the upper left. And it is one of those places that it's historic. It's been the scene of a number of movies and other places, other things like that as well too. But it's again all within about a 3-block area of our hotel. The Latin American Tower is just around the corner from where we'd be staying, and we'd be staying about 6 blocks away from the Zócalo, which is the Plaza de la Independencia, where the National Palace is, the Capitol Building, the National Cathedral, and all of the things that you want to see where that's concerned. You see right there. And you may be familiar with the name Diego Rivera, the famous muralist. And that area is just full of Rivera murals. The National Palace, his most famous mural that was the only thing that survived a 1985 earthquake in the hotel it was in, is now in a special museum, which we go visit as well too. So again, a lot of stuff within walking distance. The probable bus trip that we'd need to take to go to the south end of the city would be to go to Chapultepec Castle, the National Anthropology Museum, and see that part of the city as well too. National Anthropology Museum, considered to be one of the best in the world. Going that evening to the Café Tacuba. It's in the historic district, a very famous old restaurant. And I've got 2 ideas here. The possibility on day 8 of going out to University City, the Olympic Village, and to Coyoacan, or to go to San Juan Teotihuacan, which is the archaeological zone to the north of the city. And I have a feeling the students are going to be more interested in the archaeological zone. When they see it on a video or what have you, they're a bit in awe of this. And it is something pretty spectacular. So that might be a change I would do in the itinerary. So anyway, we're looking at roughly 8 days. The 9th day would be travel back to Indianapolis. I think a pretty comprehensive trip. Do any of you have any questions?
How many students do you expect to have?
I've talked with 2nd year, 3rd year, and 4th year students so far. And it looks like I've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 40 that are interested. Now, to what that's going to translate to when all is said and done with paying deposits, my guess would be 10 to 15. So I'm not sure that I'm going to open it up yet to 1st year students. I think I want to see what we can do more with the higher level students who might be able to use the language more while they travel.
Sounds like a great trip.
Well, I hope so. And again, you've seen what my proposal is there in terms of cost, and it would include airfare, hotels, all breakfast, all evening meals, and 5 lunches, entry fees to all the attractions, ground transportation, and then of course travel back and forth to Indianapolis as well too. So again, Dennis Wallace, the travel agent, has so far been very generous with his time, and I think we can put together really a pretty comprehensive trip when all is said and done.
Has Mr. Wallace expressed any safety concerns with Mexico right now?
I have never been the least bit worried about going to Mexico. I look at Merida as being probably the safest place in all of Mexico to go. The part of Mexico City where we would spend our time is what I would consider to be a very, very safe part of the city as well too. If you went out into the outskirts of the town, you're looking at something different, like a lot of big cities would be. But the center of Mexico City has always been considered to be the really, truly the safe part.
Now, if you had 10 to 15, would you have, how many parents would you ask to come?
That remains to be seen, I think, really, depending on how many students we have. I would like to think in terms of 3 or maybe 4 adults going along, of course myself, and then seeing if there are any other faculty that would want to go or whatever in terms of people that would be interested in being chaperones. Yeah, I'm thinking 3 to 4. I was hoping to start recruiting right away, actually. So I think I'll be able to nail down everything more fully when I get parents and students having made the commitment. Because again, the airline pricing is going to depend on how many we get. So that's really kind of what we're hinging on right now, is being able to go ahead and recruit and getting students and parents to make a deposit. I really do. Yeah. Yeah, I really do.
It's a month. Is that next meeting too long?
I really kind of am a little nervous to wait that long, quite frankly. Again, we need to be able to get the students, there are some students that are going to need to earn the money and all, and I want to be able to let them know ahead of time and far enough in advance to be able to do that as well too. So that's, yeah, I was hoping for some kind of approval, or at least to go ahead to do some recruiting.
Can we go ahead and make a motion to approve that? Can we add that back into the consent agenda? Is that how the process should work?
You could do it during.
Other matters?
you'll have to do it
Okay.
at the-
Okay. All right, well,
Okay, thanks. I do appreciate that, because I think the quicker we can get started on our recruiting, the better off. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, the most riveting part of the board meeting, the school improvement plans. And we'll be starting that out with the elementary administration. Come on up, Mr. Johnson. Nah, I'm just kind of mixing it all up. Mixing it all up.
All right. So you all have a copy. You all have a copy, correct? Okay. So first of all, just who was on our team to develop our plan? We used our building leadership team, which is made up of myself, Mr. Larson, our assistant principal, Beth Wolfert, Rachel Carter, our counselor social worker. Beth's our instructional coach. Tammy Hetty, our Title I teacher, and then Scott Jaworski. He actually led the process. And then our grade level chairs, which are kindergarten Josh Ireland, first grade Stacy Angel, second grade Diane Degenkolb, third grade Monica Rich, fourth Sherry Leffler, and fifth grade Jessica Hendricks. And so the process that we took is we followed just what the state template that they give us, and our school improvement plan for the elementary was up last school year. It was it's a 3-year plan. It was up last school year. So we went through the whole comprehensive needs assessment, gap analysis, and root cause analysis, and that was done with our leadership team over 3 or 4 weeks. And then we got to the point to where we could develop our goals and our action steps based on that root cause analysis and our professional development plan. So by the time we got to that point, we only had like a week left before we had to turn it in. So Scott, myself, Beth, and Joel sat down and created our goals. Now next year, whenever we go to tweak it and look at our goals again, that will most likely be with our whole leadership team. We just ran out of time this year. We just didn't get started in time, and it took us longer than what we thought it was going to take. So our goals, as you can see, our first one is focused on attendance. We want 95% of our students at Tipton Elementary School to miss less than 18 full days of school. 18 days sounds really like a lot, right? Like I'm like 18 days of school. That's 10% of the days, but last year our attendance rate was very low. We had 25% of our kids, including COVID illnesses, 25% of our kids missed 18 days or more, and 15%, taking out COVID absences, 15% of our kids missed 18 days or more. So that's why we're going to focus on that as our number one. Our number two goal is focused on IREAD 3, which aligns right with our district goals. Our IREAD 3 pass rate for district obviously is 95%. This year we have identified it as 93% at the school level, with 95% being next school year and 97 the year after that. And why we chose 93% is last year we passed at a 91% rate. So we thought with 2% each year increase. And then our last one is focused on iLearn and the math portion of iLearn. Last year we passed at 55%. We know our district goals are in the 40s for right now, but with us passing at 55% last year, we felt like we could increase that by 5% this year, and then 5% the next 2 years after that to be 70% in 3 years. Our professional development goals that are aligned to our plan and how we're going to implement that plan. Our first professional development goal is going to be focused on community circles. And community circles are, we will implement those at the beginning of each school day in each classroom. We want each classroom teacher to conduct a community circle or community meeting each morning for 15 minutes. And that's just really about building that community and, really creating an environment for all students in our classrooms. And we feel that if we can have those and do those effectively, that kids are going to be more motivated to come to school, feel more part of a community. And so our plan is to have those implemented at the beginning of next school year in every classroom. This year is going to be doing some learning. We're going to do some observations of people that already do the community circles. We're going to do some reflections with our admin and our instructional coaches alongside our teachers and so forth, and just provide that professional development. We have a couple third grade teachers that do a really, really nice job of implementing those community circles right now, and Monica Rich and Allison Redberger and Joel Larison, our assistant principal, did that as in his classrooms over the last few years, and has a lot of knowledge behind that. So that's going to be our first professional development goal. Our second professional development goal is going to be focused on identifying essential standards. These are the standards that are going to be assessed. So last year we developed our scope and sequence and identified what curriculum we're going to be teaching in each grade level for throughout the whole school year. And with that, we did look at standards, but the state gives us a whole bunch of standards. And to be able to teach every single standard and assess every single standard is really impossible in one school year. So while we're going to need to touch base on all those standards, we want to identify the essential standards that we're going to assess on a regular basis, and then that will guide us in our instruction. Those essential standards will be able to give common assessments, which is actually our next goal. We'll use those common assessments to be able to enrich our students, remediate our students, and so forth immediately. They'll take that, we'll get the results, and then those next days after that, we'll be able to implement intervention to go along with that. And then our third goal is developing common assessments in mathematics. Eventually, we would like to get all subject areas to have common assessments, but we want to start with math. We can't take off too much at one time, and math is a good area, with that being aligned to our school goals and our district goals, to develop common assessments in math by the end of this school year. Any questions?
Thanks for your work in going through
Yeah,
all that.
thank you.
That's-
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Now it's time for the middle school. Always
I
in
know
the
I'm
middle.
not
They're the middle
starting any
child.
meetings. I'm
They're-
not
yeah.
ending any meetings. I'm always in the middle, which is fantastic.
They're the or not Senate. Who's the middle grade girl?
Marsha.
No, Marcia's
Jan?
Jan.
Jan.
Jan for my
You're
time.
the Jan.
It's great. I think I noticed that from Nick at Night. No, just kidding.
Hey.
Okay. Our plan, we started working last January. We last year submitted a 3-year plan. But during the year, with some conversations between Mr. Ayers, my assistant principal, and I, we just felt that we had such a new leadership team in the middle school that we really wanted to get fresh eyes on that plan. So we are submitting a new 3-year plan. So this would be year 1 again of that plan. So we started back in January. Our committee is our leadership team as well. Our leadership team has our team leads. That would be Mrs. Speck with 6th grade, Mrs. Neely with 7th grade, and Mr. Bales with 8th grade. It also has Mr. Castor over the rotational teachers. But we felt like we didn't have a good representation of all of the core subjects. So we added Mr. Cousineau out of the wellness to represent the wellness group. We also added Mrs. Robertson for math and Mr. Boyd for science, just to make sure that we had all the components there. We have our instructional coach, Mrs. McDonough, and our new counselor, both of our counselors. So last year in January, we were working with Mrs. Calloway, and now we're working with Mr. Hackman on this. And then, of course, Mr. Ayers and myself with assistance from Mr. Jaworski. So similar process. We used the same template, went through the gap analysis. We decided on 2 goals, one being math, one being language arts. And eventually at the end of the 3-year plan, we'll be at a 70% pass rate for our students. This year's goal is 50%. And so to kind of give you an idea of what we're working with, our language arts at the moment is at 36% for the school. So getting them up to 50% or getting our students up to 50% would be grabbing about 47 students. And so keeping who have passed and then grabbing 47 who didn't pass and get them up to there. We would love all of them to pass, but to get to that 57 or 50% mark, we're looking at 47 students in ELA. And then for the math side, we are currently at 33%. So we're looking at 57 students and moving those into the at or above portion of that iLearn exam. In terms of professional development, we're doing something very similar to the elementary, where we're looking at those scope and sequence. We're trying to identify those high priority standards, make sure that we're assessing those high priority standards. But a lot of our work really is happening in the professional learning communities. So just for an example, we 8th grade, and they brainstormed ways that they could work with in their group with their students on these goals for in social studies classes, science classes, the STEM classes, what they could do to get these kids to that finish line of passing more. So they took their little brainstorm lists, and then they get to go into their PLCs where they sit with all of the social studies teachers. And then they have conversations about how are they going to support each other? What areas did they talk about? How can we move forward with that? So the PLC process is really driving a lot of our improvements with our instruction. This year, this is really great. For each week, each teacher gets 3 hours of collaboration time between their content and their grade level that they work with. And then they also get 47 minutes of professional development each week. And those are run by Bree McDonough. Over the year, that ends up working out to our teachers will have over 105 hours apiece in collaboration time and 27 and a half hours of professional development built into their day without using any of the other professional development time offered through the school, which is fantastic. So this school improvement plan, like, I feel like we're going to get there. We're going to be able to reach these students and get them across the finish line. So, any questions? Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Makes me Marcia then.
Yeah, it's Marcia. Or
All right.
Greg.
whoever you want me to be. Craig, we're all there. All right, this is going to sound kind of repetitive. This has Mr. Jaworski kind of stamped all over it because I think he's really good at these school improvement plans. The high school is in year 2 of our plan. So last year I kind of presented the similar process. We identified last year that the plan really wasn't doing us any good, so we scrapped what we had and started over. So we are in year 2 of that. The committee was on a voluntary basis. I sent out an email, and then we all got together and went through the same kind of needs assessment, gap analysis, all that good stuff. Oh, I had a notes page. Pretend I was organized. So I did meet with Mr. Jaworski to kind of go over what we had and whether or not we're going to move forward with all the goals as they were written, or if they're going to be small changes. For goal 1, there we go. Last year we focused on doing the guaranteed and viable curriculum, which all courses now have. That's all on the website. It was kind of a district goal as well. So teachers went through, prioritized. I think that prioritization still needs to continue, and then we're also going to use PLC time to kind of go over the elements of an effective lesson and have where we're having conversations over the good instruction that's happening in the high school and how we can kind of spread that around and share the wealth on all the knowledge that we have as a staff. So for year 2, we're going to focus in on those elements of an effective lesson after figuring out our guaranteed and viable curriculum. Goal 2 last year was the engagement committee. We haven't met yet this year, but last year our goal was to sit down and try to figure out how we could get more people in the building. We found that it was still very much a challenge despite sending mailers and emails and phone calls and surveys and all that kind of stuff. We still had a hard time reaching a lot of people. So we are going to meet again this year and go over different things. When I talk to other principals or people from other school districts, they're all kind of dealing with the same kind of thing, and that's reaching an expansive population of our kids and getting more parental involvement in the school. So year 2, we're going to send out another survey, see if we can't get more data and information from that so that we can make sure that we're communicating as effectively as possible as a high school. And then goal 3, we had this set last year, but we knew we weren't going to get to it until this year. So we've prioritized. We now have the scope and sequence. So our next step this year is looking at authentic assessments that are tied to those Indiana academic standards, focused on the things that we've prioritized, so that we can accurately measure student achievement and growth year in and year out. The high school is kind of one of those, you get SAT data, we'll get PSAT data. We did have NWEA data, but a lot of times that stuff's after the fact and you can't do a whole lot with it. So we're hoping with these authentic assessments and making sure that we're evaluating what we say we're evaluating, that we'll be able to see where our kids are and kind of make changes to instruction where we need to. And so that would be the purpose of goal 3 and what we're aiming for by next year. We have kind of common assessments at the end of grading periods and working to get really high quality assessments across the board. In terms of professional development, we're going to continue to talk about the unpacking and prioritizing. That'll be part of the assessment creation process as we start to see how much we've prioritized. If it still seems to be too much and we need to reprioritize, that'll still be something that we do during PLC time and on PD days. And then we'll use faculty meetings to do some professional development as well, instead of doing kind of the bulleted list of stuff that kind of happens in some faculty meetings. So professional development goal then is to continue doing that and make those authentic assessments that we've set out as a goal. And then in PLCs, what I've told the staff from the beginning is that my goal for us long term is that we're developing a more collaborative culture, and not just like hello in the hallway, but more so this is what's really awesome in my class. Maybe somebody can use that. So far we've met weekly and those conversations are going outstanding. Set up a PLC leadership team this year, and we kind of identified a list of things we needed to discuss to set the culture in the room. And I think the conversations are taking us places. And then as we get further down the line, we'll be able to look at specifically what kind of teaching and what kind of learning is going on in the classrooms, so that our teachers can kind of lean on one another. One thing that we have kind of against us in our PLCs is that we can't meet in particular subject areas or with just as grade level, because kids are all over the place with electives and schedules and everything else. And with how our schedule is, putting all the math department together is just kind of difficult. So focusing on that collaborative culture, I think, is going to move us in the right direction. Then hopefully at some point we have a schedule that'll kind of play nice for that, so we can do more of that work. That was a whole lot of words. Do you have any questions? Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much.
So again, I would just have to say, in relationship to the to our improvement plans, there are some school corporations that just like check this off. We really do invest a lot of time in improvement plans, and we are practicing what we preach, quite frankly, and that's listed in the improvement plan. So again, thank you guys for your hard work in putting that all together, and also our teachers and staff who helped with that as well.
Okay, next item on the agenda are our department reports, and you had those in your packet. They should be one for Director of Student Achievement and Learning for Mr. Jaworski, Director of Student Services and Transportation for Mr. Clark, Director of Food Service Adam Prohl, and Director of Technology Stephen Gingrich. Anybody has any questions or comments on that? Maybe Dr. Glaze has the answer, or Bianca has the answer, or
My question that I noted out of these was just curiosity for the intercom hardware that was noted in Mr. Gingrich's update for the middle school.
Yes. From what we understand, that's still sitting in another country. And so as soon as we get that in the States, we'll get it installed. So everything's been processed. It's just a matter of getting it here.
And
So.
if I read his notes correctly, there is a way to page the entire school now. Is that correct? The all-call button?
We are able to do that with our phone
That's-
system.
yes, the new
Yes,
system.
yes, with our phone system. Yes, there is a way to do that.
Okay.
And I have that access. Officer Maddox has that access, and then also John Ayers, who is our district school specialist, or school safety specialist. Let me get that out right. And so there are three of us that have that option to be able to do that. So yes, that is what we intend as a intermediate step.
Yeah.
Long term, what we want to be able to do is have a PA system that will broadcast corporation wide. So we're working to get that. I thought that's what you were asking about. Sorry about that.
No.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
all right, next up on the agenda is the financial report, and Dr. Glaze has all those details.
Yeah, sorry, this is a little lengthy as far as the financial report. So for September, we have a cash balance of $816,000 in the education fund. We project that to be nearly $900,000 by the end of the year. One thing that we are going to ask you about later tonight is to transfer $200,000 from the education fund into the operation fund. Honestly, we've been starving the operation fund a little bit too much. So we're going to have to start giving back a little bit. So probably in the next, at least the next 2 months, we may end up doing another transfer, just kind of looking to see where we are as far as cash balance in education fund. So we just want to make sure that we have that we have good cash flow. So that's really the goal of all of that. So we'll ask you that later on. The other thing that really wanted to talk about very quickly is, well, we can actually go through the cash balances. So our cash balance right now in operations fund is $515,000. Debt service is $1.3 million. And the rainy day fund is $2.5 million. And one of the things that I would like just to we've provided some information for you about Trust Indiana and an opportunity to invest some of our cash balance as well as some of the construction funds into to Trust Indiana. This is where the Indiana surplus is, so it's a safe fund. It is a fund that is specifically for municipalities and schools, but the rate of return on that for around $10 million, which we probably could do, would be about 12 to 16,000 a year, or I mean a month rather. So that's a pretty good return, and this is probably the upside of interest rates going up a little bit. We're able to cash in on some savings. What Brooke and I are going to do is get with a consultant that will help us to decide what that just right number is, and I will make sure that we're talking about that, and then we'll just probably go ahead and do it. The great thing about Trust Indiana is I can call them today before 5, and the money will be back in our funds by 8 o'clock in the morning. So it's really a very smooth and liquid process. So lots of ease as far as transfer. So a lot of corporations are doing this. It just probably makes good sense, especially since with our cash balances and with construction funds, Brooke, about 18 million altogether. 17 million. So we have that in the bank. So versus just letting it sit where it is right now, we can actually make a little bit of money off of it. So that's it for the financial report.
Want to jump into the next part?
Sure. A few of us had the opportunity to go to the state conference for school board and also superintendents. Always a really well-run conference, and we just thought we would share out. So I'm just going to kind of turn it over to you all if you would like to share out some information. Again, it's always a good one, and I'll let you guys talk.
I'll speak for the group, and if anyone else has anything to add, feel free. It was a 2-day conference, and several of us had the opportunity to attend. And it was a good opportunity, really, to hear a keynote speaker who was a mother at Sandy Hook Elementary, and she talked to us about the focus of safety, and really kind of gave us an opportunity just to reflect and making sure that our teachers have the tools that they need for our most precious kiddos. So I greeted Mr. Leach one night at a volleyball game with a "Tell me something good," which was a challenge from a keynote speaker that we had, really about, you referenced the collaborative culture that you're trying to kind of foster in the high school. And that's really what this speaker sort of talked about, was tell me something good, to start your conversations with focusing on the positive things that are going on instead of greeting each other with, "Hey, what's up?" And it's commonly, "I'm so busy, I'm chasing my tail." And so really kind of trying to shift that conversation from the beginning with that. And really the breakout sessions, I think that each of us tried to attend a combination of some of the same and some of different, but a lot of the takeaways were how to function as a board member, nuts and bolts of boardsmanship. And there were sessions about messaging, communicating with your different populations. There were super sessions about pathways for graduation and all kinds of different information. But I think that most of all, it was a nice opportunity to focus on, as a school board, how to serve our community the best that we possibly can. I don't know. Yep.
I think one thing I was really encouraged by was not only getting to learn how to be a better board, just person on the board, to encourage our community, our teachers, our school, but I was just I was excited to hear from administration and those that are in leadership that, as much as there might be like this political arena around education right now, that there are that the majority of people that I would hear from are people who love our students, they love our kids, and they want to see growth. And that was very encouraging to me to just think like we're going in a good direction and it's exciting. And I just don't ever want to lose focus on that because I think it can happen really quickly. But just to rub shoulders with people who really do genuinely care about education and seeing it go in a positive direction.
I went to the president's breakfast on Tuesday morning, which is only open to school board presidents, no superintendents in the room, no one else. They talk a little freer and talk a little more candidly about things. And I was a little disappointed this year, and a lot of the school board presidents actually have a panel up in the front of the room, and people ask them questions and they start conversations. And in the past, they've been more like a school corporation that's got 3,000 students and a school corporation between 2999 and 2,500 and on down to where you get into some rural school corporations like ours. And they were all seemingly pretty much from larger school corporations this year, which was a little disappointing. But the subjects that they brought up were across the board relevant to all school corporations. And I encourage whoever follows my footsteps as the next board president to encourage them to go to that breakfast and learn a lot of stuff that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is old business and the consideration to approve board policies and administrative guidelines on second reading. On September 13th, the Board of Trustees approved a series of updated board policies on first reading, and it is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve those same policy updates on the second reading, and you have a summary of those in your packet. So I would entertain a motion in a second to approve those. Motion in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, next, moving on to new business. Approval of the 2023 to 2025 capital projects plan, 2023 through 2027 bus replacement plan, and the 2023 budget. Last month during our work session and again during the public hearing held on Tuesday, September 27th, 2022, detailed information was shared regarding the 2023 through 2025 capital projects plan, 2023 through 2027 bus replacement plan, and the 2023 budget. Anyone have any comments or questions about that? If not, a motion in a second.
Second.
Motion in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Next item is consideration to approve school improvement plans for Tipton Elementary School, Tipton Middle School, and Tipton High School. Each year, the Board of Trustees asks to approve our school improvement plans. These plans were submitted to the state. Tipton Elementary School and Tipton Middle School plans are new. Tipton High School plan is updated. Thank you to our school improvement teams for working on those and for the presentation earlier. It is recommended the Board of Trustees approve these plans as written.
Go ahead.
Motion in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, next item for consideration is approval of transfer of $200,000 from the Education Fund to the Operations Fund. Board of School Trustees of Tipton Community School Corporation recognizes the need for a transfer of money within funds to maintain positive cash balances. For the last 2 years, Tipton Community School Corporation has not transferred funds from the Education Fund to support operations. While this has increased our cash balance in the Education Fund, it has caused a cash flow issue in operations. A transfer at this time of $200,000 will assist us in maintaining the positive cash flow. accompanying transfer resolution is attached, and you guys have had an opportunity to look that over. Need a motion and a second to approve that resolution.
I move to approve the transfer of $200,000 from the education fund to the operations fund.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Next is consideration to approve a 2% increase in Tipton Community School Corporation's contribution to health insurance for non-bargaining unit employees. Earlier this evening, the Board of Trustees approved a 2% increase to Tipton Community School Corporation's contribution of our employee health insurance for bargaining unit members. Historically, Tipton Community School Corporation has approved the same increase for those employees not in the bargaining unit. That includes bus drivers, custodians, full-time support staff, 12-month employees, administrators, and others. Cost of this increase is approximately $24,000. It is recommended the Board of Trustees approve this 2% increase to Tipton Community School Corporation's contribution to non-bargaining unit health insurance benefits. Any questions or comments? Need a motion and a second.
I move to approve the 2% increase in the contribution to health insurance for our non-bargaining employees.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is other matters to come before the board.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the trip for the THS Spanish students to Mexico in June of 2023.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve that trip to Mexico. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Next items are advisory committees coming up. November 14th, Branding and Public Relations will be meeting. December the 19th, Facilities and Technology will be meeting. Next schedule of events, the end of the 9 weeks was over today or yesterday? Today. And tomorrow, parent-teacher conferences, pre-K through 12. October the 17th, report cards will be available on PowerSchool. And the 19th through the 21st will be fall break. And the next monthly meeting will be November the 8th. Our next item, I guess we have no other items. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.